Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, how's it going? Morning coffee?
Yeah,
Starting the week with
yeah,
5 format API.
good way to start the week.
Hey,
Yeah,
Dan, how's it
how are
going?
you? How are you guys doing?
Good, good. Happy to moving forward. Last week was I was writing code.
Nice.
Mhm.
I was actually writing code last week too, but in Rust. So
That's good as well.
yeah,
My C++ and C is rusty.
That's it's a whole different language since I did any C++ or C.
Is
I
it?
look at it now and it's just like it looks
okay.
so foreign to me.
In the uni, I have learned like 5, 7 languages in those years there. So learning a new one is just like, okay, give me.
I wish it were so simple. It's usually the ecosystem that's harder, like the
Yeah,
idioms
that's
and everything like that. Like the syntax is generally not too difficult.
No, but
slow as
also,
well.
what should you do? What's idiomatic? What are people going to understand to be able to maintain?
You
A
just
little
ask.
while ago, I went back and I tried recompiling some of the early C programs that I worked on, and like they don't even compile anymore. There's so many errors. They catch all these things that you're not supposed to do, and it's just like C especially just kind of. I'm just gonna dereference that point over here.
Yes, then.
Just ask ChatGPT to rewrite it.
That can be scary, but
In Rust, all you need to do is put it in an unsafe block. Like, trust me. That's what unsafe should be called. It's just like a trust me.
or I shouldn't be doing this, but I think we got everybody we're gonna get probably.
Yeah, it seems like
Okay. Cool. Thanks for coming. So basically, the last 2 weeks, I went around and tried out different things. One interesting thing is that we mentioned that probably we would like to get rid of the exposing write builder directly.
Mhm.
And I tried my hand on moving Flink to the file format API, file writer API created by Anton. I have a PR there, and it is, I think it's quite okay. Stephen, what do you think? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's simply fine approach because it kind of minimize the change. Not our angle, but actually minimize change to move to the file API, file write factory. So seems good to me.
If we go that way, we can do the same with the generic appender factory as well, and this could help move the Kafka there as well. So
great.
basically, we can. There is a way to finally deprecate the file appender factory. My question is for the community. What do you think, guys, about really deprecating it and the timeline for deprecating it?
So I'm good deprecating it if we are moving off of it. It has been, I think, I don't like having two of these APIs. And especially, the implication where when we're introducing a new file format system, having this has really made the task harder. So I would say I'm all for moving on to a single set of writers and things like that. That said, I'm hesitant to do everything at once. And so I would, I think, rather, move the Spark write path first to the new APIs. Just try not to have all of this dependent on deprecating the old writers and rewriting how we create files in those. Right. I still want to make progress on the file format stuff that you're focused on and continue to clean that up over time, if that makes sense.
I think we can do it parallelly. We can do it like start moving the file appenders to the file writers. We can create those PRs and work on those. What I would love to see is I would like to try out the API not only with Spark, but at least one other engine, Flink or Kafka or whatever. I don't really care. Just at least somebody else should try to use it, not Spark. So I think we could do it in parallel. If Steven is okay with the PR, we can merge it, and then Flink could start using that as well. We don't have to necessarily start using it immediately. So if you take a look at my proposed timeline, and on the fourth question was, first I would finalize the API, go through everything, think through that, is it working or not? And then one by one, we can start moving the file formats, and then we can start moving the actual implementations like Spark and then Flink, and then step by step. I don't want to have one huge PR there because that's unreviewable.
I agree with that. I would just say that I'm fairly confident that if we can move, at least one engine, because mainly what we're talking about is having a system for automatically providing the integration that we already do, right? We already know that the reader and writer structures can be produced, and that we can register something that produces them automatically for, a given type. So I think that the risk of, having this move forward and not work for Flink is fairly low, considering all we're doing is saying like, okay, we're gonna wrap the lowest level builder in a data builder or a delete builder. Like that I think will we can be confident will work. So I think it's great that you want to do the go build it, like make sure the exploration works, but I'm not too worried about the problems.
Okay, cool.
So on the other hand, I think the Flink move to file write factory is also not that big. I think PR seems pretty ready, so I think we probably might be able to merge that pretty soon.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, if it's moot because it just like works, then that's ideal too.
Cool. Okay, I think that's fine in this direction. So basically, we are focusing on Spark, but if we parallel can do Flink or whatever else, we can move forward with that. Cool. On the if you have time, please answer on the mail thread about the timeline of deprecating the file appender API. I would love to hear your thoughts, but that could be for another topic. The second question is, okay, so simplifying the format model implementations. Basically, the issue that Russell solved with when implemented the internal data for Parquet, that we had like 3 or 4 different reader function, and all of them had a slightly different parameterization, like 4 or 1, 2, and 4 parameters. And he created a single reader function, which encapsulated all of these parameters and created a single way to add the reader function. And that was a generic way and easily extensible if we want to add the new parameters for the generation logic for the reader functions. And I think it would be nice to reuse the same strategy for writer functions, reader function, all around the file formats. And I would like to hear your thoughts around that. If you agree with that, I would love to move forward with that stuff as well.
So I thought that we had already discussed the functions, and I know that we determined that we need to pass the incoming like engine schema, right? We already know that most of them work also on the actual Parquet schema, and I think we like to have the Iceberg schema as well. What was the fourth parameter?
There is the constant values, the ID2.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
We would like to pass them there as well. And for Parquet vectorized reader, we would like to delete filter as well, because that also goes down to the writer function.
So I thought we were talking about parameterizing the builders or the writer function. And yeah, that does require at least passing the constants map. Why does that require the filters as well?
Basically, the filters are need to be passed down to the readers, because in vectorized reading, we are immediately filtering out the deleted rows.
Yes, but why does that need to be part of the reader construction?
Good question. It is done currently in this way. I haven't touched that part. Basically, we need to pass down somewhere. We don't. So basically these are the information we collect during the builder creation, and then pass down to the actual file format readers in one way or another.
Ryan, wouldn't you need the filters for the file format level skipping, right? If you want to do page skipping, if you want to do
yes,
skipping,
page and row group. So those are used after we construct the readers, right? The readers are really like, how do we call something and get a result back? Usually we do, I think, the filtering beforehand or after, right? So, I mean, we're talking about the vectorized path. So presumably we've already skipped what we can skip within or we've skipped all the row groups we're going to skip.
But like if you want to do page level skipping, you have to do that as well, right?
We don't currently have page level skipping. And I'm not sure that page level skipping would require passing filters here. I mean, because the filters are really this tree structure that matches the fields being projected and the expected schema. So like that doesn't necessarily have to do with filtering, right? You could build the filters and then you could build the readers, read a big chunk of data, and then go filter, that record batch. So I'm not entirely sure why we would need to do this at that level.
Currently, we are passing this to the vectorized Parquet reader, and the vectorized Parquet reader passes down to the reader conf for whatever reason. So this is how it is currently done.
Can you present what you're looking at?
Yeah, let me try.
So we're all on the same page and not trying to go look this up live.
Entire screen. I hope nothing secret will come up.
No worries.
Okay, so basically what I see is that here we are in Parquet, and we are creating the vectorized Parquet reader, and the filter is a parameter for the vectorized Parquet reader. And it goes down to the filter is set here, and when we are initting the reader configuration, we pass down the filter again. And oh, this is expression filter. Let me check. It's okay. That's sorry that I'm misleading you. Delete filter. Okay, so
we're talking about
that's it.
I'm not sure that the delete filter would need to be there either. You might want to look at where we actually call the batched reader func. Oh, okay, it's there. I see.
Okay. But this is my code already, so it might not be how it was
Oh,
previously.
okay.
Mm.
I mean, this may also be something that we just need to take a look at in reviews.
Yeah, probably do it in another another round, because we are just losing time. Okay.
But yeah, I'm a little skeptical about that needing to be passed into the reader builder, right? Is this something that, you know, we use the readers and produce something that then gets filtered? You know, why do we need to?
I understand your concerns. Absolutely, you don't have to.
I'm building the reader structure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at that. That could lead to a way to say that we can have like a 4 parameters reader function, and that could be generic instead of having that stuff. Ash, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, it's very hard to hear you.
Ashwin, you want to say something? Okay. No, the next thing which I wanted to talk about is I would like to revisit the generic parameters for the write builder and read builder. I really love them. The thing is that if you want to pass around the builders, it is very good if you have generic parameters there and say you what is there.
No, I doubt it, Ashwin. I don't think that we want to, you know, speculatively pass things through. We can always add it later, right? But I don't think that we want to construct the builders that way.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, sorry. Back to generic parameters.
Yeah, back to the generic parameters. So I find them very useful if you are passing around the builders for whatever reason, instead of immediately generating the end result from there. And if I understood correctly, the main problem with them was that we don't want to recreate the Parquet write builder, new classes and wrapping and things around that. Am I right there?
I don't see a benefit to changing the existing API just to add a generic parameter that is going to be automatically seeded at some point, right? Because it's not actually giving us type safety. I would, yeah, generally prefer not to change the way the API works.
So if we seed them in one point, then we can give that result later to a next function or next method call. Then we can use the parameter there if it's there. If we don't have parameters, like, okay, let's be concrete. I've been playing around having writers and readers in a way that we are writing column families in different Parquet files. And in this case, I have builders for the actual Parquet files, and one big builder which calls the builders below. And here the parameter types are becoming important, or at least nice to have, because you don't have to cast every time, and you can be sure that the type of the builders are the same and so on.
So what is the builder structure? You're saying that you're using you have multiple builders for different groups of columns within the files?
Yes, so I have a big builder, a main builder, and there are underlying builders for smaller Parquet files for column family 1, column family 2, column family 3. And then I'm combining those builders to a single builder. So in the end.
I'm not sure I understand how types would help here. Is your builder structure entirely within something that is registered?
So the main builder is an internal row builder, so reading and writing internal rows. And the underlying builder should be also internal row builder, so I can combine those.
Yeah, and you have a projected internal row class.
Yeah.
Peter, I talk about white table, the column family stitching thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I think I still have the same question. Is this above the level of the new file API or below the level of the new file API? So what does Spark actually do? My assumption is that Spark still calls into the format model, grabs a format model, says, generate something because here's my row schema. And so Spark's use of the API for this does not change, which means then that the actual builders you're supplying are below the level of this API and they're inside something that you've registered. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So inside those builders that you've registered, you would like to have, if I understand correctly, some type. Now the outermost type is probably going to be, I guess that is known because that's internal row. Okay. Now what stops your builder that's a custom builder from basically having its own type that you carry? You could, as long as you're implementing this, you can have more parameterization than is required by the API.
I'm basically reusing the same builders. So a single file builder, I'm reusing the single file builders to combine them to a multi-file builder.
Okay. And you're saying that all of these are parameterized by the same underlying type?
Yes, it's internal row. All of them are internal rows. So basically, I'm just splitting out the internal rows to smaller chunks, and these should be written to this file, this part should be written, and so on.
So I guess I still don't see how you could, number one, not introduce types in, your own like wrapper code or whatever that you're registering, because you're in control of what you register. Nor do I understand the utility of having those type parameters if they're all going to be the same type parameter.
So every builder. So I know that I'm actually writing internal rows for every builder. I know that I will reading internals from every reader, and I can only combine those if they are really internal rows. If they are something else, I cannot use them. I can assume them that there will be the same, but I think it's way better to actually have them the same. Know them, they are the same.
I mean, I think I understand that you want to configure a builder and have it, output the same type you configured it to produce.
Yes.
I don't see the value of substantial code changes to make that happen. So, I mean,
yeah.
For me, it seems like this is a pretty minor thing that is not worth rewriting all of the classes.
Oh, my question first was if this was the issue, and I was trying to say that if the only issue is that we need to rewrite everything, I have a suggestion that instead, so the Parquet write builder could implement object, or so use it as a generic one, and hide this for the Parquet. But when we are start using through the API, we can still have the parameters as we want them. And if we are using from outside, everybody could know that, okay, this is the write builder which will generate input internal rows and expect a schema type as an input for the schema. And this doesn't need to rewrite the current stuff. It doesn't need to add new classes. So
Steven.
there is.
Oh, sorry.
Steven, go ahead.
So the existing read and write builder, we're talking about from the internal data, is it? Those the public interface we're talking about?
We're talking about right now all the builders for Avro and Parquet, and I think Orc, but I'm not sure. We don't carry the type that will be produced by the reader or writer through until, and we produce a, whatever file append. Say we're on the right path. You want a file appender of internal row, right? Some representation. Right now, that type is determined when you call build.
Okay.
Because build returns file appender of whatever type you set. The idea here is to carry through the type from when you create the builder, which I don't have a problem with in general. My concern is that we're not producing unnecessary changes. I think this is something that the fewer the changes, the easier it is going to be to move forward and get in. And like completely replacing 6 builders or 9 builders is problematic in just terms of like the number of changes. So if we can add, if we can be additive and not completely replace those builders and continue using the same API and things like that, totally fine. Let's look at the amount of changes, because this is not a principled like let's not change this thing. My main point is we should minimize the changes to make this easier to get in and move to.
Okay, let me show you the code, please.
Sounds great.
Okay, so here we go. So basically, what I added back the parameters here, and the changes which I think for the schema it's kind of no-brainer because it's quite easy to add. It's a little bit it's questionable, or more questionable for the builder, because the build method needs a different parameter. So I'm not sure here, to be honest. And
why did you use object instead of introducing type parameters to this builder?
Pardon?
Why parameterize it by? Oh, I guess sorry.
Well, this was the former one. Then when you don't have parameters, then we need to have the input scheme as an object.
You could still add a type parameter to this write builder, right? And pass that through to the underlying write builder.
So, but I did this one. And after that, we can use this. And here, with the old write builders, just implement the object, and the new builders can do whatever they want. And this is the only change which is required if we are using the output type as a parameter as well. And this is the only change which are needed in a Parquet file, the read builder, to get the parameterization in.
So the fact that we're using object here and hard coding those is a red flag to me, because we are, clearly returning something, and the actual call to build appender is not going to expect object. So it looks to me like this would require some additional work to like figure out the types, which I don't have a problem with, right? The main thing is having a minimal set of changes. I would probably not opt to spend a ton of time here, but I mean, we can definitely review it if this is important.
I mean, what would you do? So if we don't do this, we can put a parameter here for the method, but that's same that's having an object in my mind. So if we don't go in the parameterization way, we need to get an object as a parameter, or
I mean, I don't quite understand why you couldn't say like right builder of, T, and then, this returns a file appender of T. The build method would be the exact same. Like what, I don't quite understand why this is parameterized specifically by object, even though we intend to produce something different.
so read with that T schema.
Well, I mean, hard coding these to objects does not seem like the right solution. So if we want to add type parameters to the Parquet right builder, and then have existing uses be, unparameterized, that seems okay, I guess. But whatever we're doing here, it seems like these types are not actually being used because we're hard coding them to object. So again, I'm not seeing the utility of adding these types.
So
When you get, sorry.
if you get the type, add the type to the right builder in here, would we have concern breaking compatibility, or?
So if we put here, we need to have something like this. If we put it here, then I don't see here, sorry. Then I don't really see any benefit. It's an object.
Now, if we add the type here, then we don't need the new method in 247.
But I don't get it, sorry.
Let's say if you add the type parameter to the right builder in line 111, then we don't need the new build appender method in line 247. You can continue to use the old build.
So, Stephen, the difference, I think, is that the file appender returned by the method on 252 takes the type parameter in the function, right? So it will return you a file appender of whatever the expected type is. Whereas what we want to do is have this right builder have a type that the builder produces.
Sure.
Now, the primary use of this through the new API erases all of those types, which is my point, where it's like, if we're just going to use whatever type we're given, when getting this builder, then you may as well use whatever type you're given during the build method. But that is the idea behind having this build appender method, right? The build appender method is an option, so you can use the same type that you parameterize the right builder with. However, if we're parameterizing the entire builder with object, then I don't see like you're still casting that to, something with the zero type safety.
Yeah, but we are doing that because we want to keep the old implementation. And this is just a fallback because we don't have a better solution. We don't want to rewrite the whole stuff.
So
there are plenty of places where we use question marks instead of actually using the parameters in the Parquet writers and stuff.
fair. The right builder here, though, like if you're just going to parameterize by object, I don't see a point. If you wanted to add a type parameter to this right builder, and like you can safely add type parameters to things. So I think that we could explore that option, but simply adding the object here doesn't seem like it buys us anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Adding object allows us to the format model registry will return parameterized right builders, and these right builders will have the types. And if you,
I guess, like it still doesn't seem like any of this is worth worrying about to me, because at the end of the day, when you get a format model, like we're filling in those types with whatever you're asking for. And so none of it is really type safe because they're all getting erased.
So
get the registry, but after the registry, what you get, that's follow for you through the code everywhere.
So let's say if you make the right builder also generic in line 11, 111, then the line 247 we can make return a typed file appender. We can deprecate the one in 252, right? So then everything will be typed.
Yeah, I would love to see it if like we can make everything typed. Again, great. Types are nice to have. I don't think that this is providing enough type safety that it is worth worrying about for a long time, but I would definitely take a look if we can avoid completely replacing the builder and introduce type safety the way you want to. I think that is a good goal.
Okay, please take a look at this one. I think this is the best way we can achieve without actually re-implementing the right builders at this point of the time. We know this is a compromise. The previous versions were using the types. I went through all of the changes, and it was like this big because we avoided using the types for a long time, and this is caused this huge.
So at least my feedback here is that if you're going to implement right builder of object, then this is no different than calling the build on line 252.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I don't care. I give up. I don't necessarily agree, but I understand that this is what the community wants. Okay. Yep. Then the last one is the breakdown of the change, how we will move forward. My question, so let me think through a little bit. We went through the file appender stuff. It means that I could remove the exposing of the right builder from the format model registry. That one change I need to do in the current API. The next one is simply internal for the not really API related how we will use the delete filter. It is not something which we see in the format model. This is really the implementations of the format model, so it doesn't touch the API. And then the decision was that we don't use the generic parameters for the builders, so it is good as it is on the API. So basically, I need to change the format of the registry to remove the private builder exposure, and then I think we can go through the API and decide if this is the one which we would like to finalize. And I would like to ask you then to go through that and help me find if there is any more issues there. And if not, I think we can call a vote on that. What do you think?
So for the generic, I don't think we are against to make the generic changes. We can keep generic, just we don't want to propagate generic using object to object. We continue to propagate those. No?
If we do in any other way, then we will need to modify the current Parquet right builder implementations, because those are not generically parameterized at this point. And if we don't give a specific parameters for the when we are implementing the interfaces, then we will need to rewrite the whole API. And I fully agree with Ryan on that we don't want to do that.
Ryan, is that the intention? We don't want to modify the writer reader in the Parquet class?
So I think for adding a type parameter that is in the end going to be erased, right? So it doesn't provide you any more type safety than the existing type parameter on the build method, that it's not worth, you know, a lot of code changes to completely replace the builders and do all of that. So I don't think that it's worth it. And I would really like to, you know, I think we're at the point where we're trying to minimize the number of changes that are going in, right? The exploration phase is sort of mostly done, and we're trying to say like, okay, how do we tighten this up and get it to where we can put it in? And I think that that's a lot of changes for not much benefit. So I would definitely prefer not doing that. Now, Peter, you mentioned having Dan review something and raising a vote. I'm not sure what you mean voting on. Do we think that this requires a vote? Because this is really introducing a new API, and we wouldn't typically vote on things like this, right? Like most of the interested people are involved in the review process. And so like I don't have a problem having a vote on this once there's consensus on the PRs, but it doesn't seem like something that requires a vote to me.
It's a good question. I think so. My thought was that this is quite a big change in the file handling, and this will be something which we will use hopefully we will use for a long while, and that's why I thought that it would be nice to have a vote.
So I think the counter argument I have is that this is, you know, optional. It's not like we're getting rid of the Parquet or Avro builders, right? We're actually standardizing some of the data write builder, delete write builder infrastructure, which I think is actually a clear win for the community. But you can still go and get a generic file appender if you choose to. And so like we shouldn't be really breaking anything with these changes. So I think that they're, you know, just net positive for the community. And I would say like I don't really have a, you know, strong need for a vote to go through, but happy to do one if you think it's a good idea.
Others?
I don't have a strong opinion about the vote either. I mean, the only added value I think it has is just letting people know that it's actually going in, but I'm not sure that there's really a whole lot more people than this group right here. You know, between Flink, Kafka Connect, and Spark, we're probably well aware of what's happening. So I mean, we didn't vote on the other, the other APIs. We didn't vote on internal data. We didn't, there are a number of changes in the space that we never voted on. We just got general consensus and moved forward. So.
Okay, cool. I see many yes nodes, so I think then it's a no vote. Then I've updated the PR and then please review.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So Peter, you're going to remove generic and we'll do the supply the type in the build method.
I have created that method, so at least I can check the type of the input schema and the output schema, and this way at least we have some kind of type safety at runtime at least. You can take a look at the implementation.
And then it's somebody, Peter, I think you said early on that you already had an example of switching Flink over to using this. Is that correct?
Yes, I have the Flink move from not this specifically, but from the appender factory to the 5 writer factory.
I'm thinking right now Kafka Connect uses internal data, if I remember correctly, with generics, because they don't have like their own object model, right?
Use internal data?
I think that they're using either internal
record.
data.
It's using records. It's using records and the generic appender factory.
Oh, okay.
Generic appender factory. Okay.
I can create a PR for that as well to move, or somebody else who wants can create a PR to move that as well. Once I move the main writers for the Flink one, moving the Kafka will be a breeze.
I also wondered, do we want to adapt to Kafka's object model instead? Because, right now, I think we just translate directly from Kafka's object model into internal data, or sorry, into generics, and then move it over, which is probably an unnecessary amount of work.
Yeah, I'm happy to leave that out for other ones who are.
Yeah,
you can reach out to Brian Keller. He might be willing to go and do that. I also don't know. I mean, there's some oddities with the
Kafka model.
in-memory model, which may make it difficult. So
there's probably a reason Brian didn't implement an object model directly for it anyway.
But we can raise it and just see. Somebody may be interested.
Okay, so once the API is in, then I think the next step will be to write the testing infrastructure and start moving the file, the Parquet, Avro, ORC to at least implement those ones, and then we can start. If all 3 of them is implemented, then we can start moving the engines.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
What's the conclusion for the read function? Peter, you talk about like in Russell's PR, the Parquet. What's the conclusion on that topic?
For that, I think that's an internal way of how to implement those stuff in the Parquet, ORC, and Avro format model. And I will do a research to understand why the delete filter is in the current form pushed down to the read builder, and why it's needed or not needed. If we can,
I took a quick look, and I'm not actually convinced it's being used for anything other than I see some places where we take residual and we push it through there. So it may actually be a little bit of dead code, effectively.
I don't think so. When I missed that, I had test failures. So at least we are testing it. I'm not sure about the other things, but at least we are testing it.
I had one last question, which was as I was looking through, at least what was linked is the latest API, which I think is out of date from what was linked in the doc. I'm not sure. Did we settle what the plan was for reading or producing file level metadata? Because I didn't see anything for setting or reading file metadata.
I think you should discuss that with Ryan.
Okay.
Because
I know that we had talked about like maybe not relying on that anymore, but there are things that we
yeah. So basically, my solution for that was to instead of providing the iterator, I give back another interface, which would be like a reader interface or whatever, and you can fetch the metadata from there. But Ryan said that you have discussed it, that every time when we're using metadata, it is just some outdated code, and we shouldn't do that really.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was more for the, I'm actually more interested in the writer side. Do we still want to produce anything that's referential to where the file came from? Because largely it was there to encode something like, hey, what was the schema ID that we used to produce this file, or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, I think we still want to produce that information because it's great for debugging, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to know what schema did I produce this from? You know, what were what was the table state at the time? But what we don't want to do is lazily fall back on that data for any read purpose, right? Like if you're reading that file, you need to know that the correct partition spec exists in the table, or you ignore partitioning for that file, right? So I think that it is something that we should avoid plumbing through.
But we need a way to write it.
Yes, but that is just adding metadata. So there's a difference between opening a file, exposing metadata on the read path, and configuring a builder to pass additional metadata on the write path.
Well, depending on what we need, since we're already passing the schema through the builder, do we have enough information that you actually don't need to plumb anything through for that, and the builder can actually capture that and write it?
I think for data files, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, because the only thing that we attach as metadata in data files, I believe, is that schema information.
Yeah.
I would have to check that. So mostly this was a problem in the metadata path with internal data.
Yeah.
Basically, this stuff is collected from the parameters of the builder, write builder, and it's returned to the metadata in a generic way. So it's hidden behind the data write builder, equality builder, and positional delete builder. And the type of the delete file is also stored in the metadata, by the way, at this point.
So the last comment I had was, is the reason that we're doing the positional delete writer just for backward compatibility and making sure that we're moving everything forward? Because we don't, like, we write deletes now as puffin. I guess we have equality deletes that we still need to support.
Yeah, so well, equality deletes, you use the regular write builder. Well, you use the same registered writer function, and you configure the builder to produce deletes.
Yeah.
The position deletes, yeah, it's basically that we need to be able to continue supporting V2 tables for the foreseeable future. Okay. But this also provides a nice way to remove that functionality. Like when we no longer need to produce, data files that way, then we can simply remove these code paths, the registration.
Yeah, basically, by Ryan's suggestion, we just register a different builder for the data builders, and that's it. Cool.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. That was very productive. Thank you very much. Goodbye.